ఓం శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. అందరికీ నమస్కారం. In this video, let us examine what is listening. Sravana. It is called Sravana. What does it mean? And what is the distinction between hearing and listening? Let us examine. When you hear through your ears. When you listen through heart. See, hearing, you can hear only with your ears, and when you hear like that, it is not necessary to listen, because for listening something more is necessary. A certain kind of a silence, a certain kind of peace, a certain kind of serenity is necessary to listen. Apart from this, when you want to listen with your heart, then when the heart is filled with love towards that unknown and infinite divinity, then you start loving the speaker from which you want to, from whom you want to listen. So, unless you have that love towards that one who is outpouring his love and his heart about that infinite, merciful divinity, you will not be able to listen to him or to his words. So, when he speaks, when that enlightened person speaks, he speaks from a depth, from a space within. The words appear to be very ordinary, which you know them generally in one sense. But in another sense, when the words, those words which he speaks from that depth, from that space within him, they carry, those words are extraordinary because they carry a fragrance, a perfume from that space from which he is speaking with immense love and devotion towards that eternity. So, when those words, if those words reaches you, you can, you will be able to reach to those words only when the words disappear and the fragrance which it carries becomes essential. For you, the fragrance which those words carry becomes essential, and the words then become inessential. And if that fragrance reaches you in this way, then you have listened. That is listening. You see, as you know, the great devotee of Lord Srihari, Prahlada, when he was in the womb of his mother, he could listen to the outpourings, to the sacred and holy outpourings of great sage Narada. And though he was born to a demon king, Hiranyakasipa, Prahlada became an ardent devotee of Lord Srihari. And not only he got liberated, but he could also get liberation for his rebellious father. That is the power, that is the love of listening. That is the serenity, that is the purity of listening. So, when that kind of listening happens, the words which the other pronounce, they carry truth, and you feel the truth in those words and their fragrance when the speaker speaks from his own experience, from the truth which he experienced, from the infinite wisdom which he passed through about that merciful divinity. So, but what comes in the way of listening? It is the mind which interferes. The mind makes you to listen. Sorry, the mind makes you only to hear, because the mind is always shattering with so much noise. So you hear only the words, but you miss the fragrance which they carry when you start hearing an enlightened master. So the mind always interprets whatever it comes in its way, and the mind has got sensors. What is that sensor? That sensor is your conditioning. So it is an established fact that the psychologists say that it wants to hear only what it wants to hear. What it wants means, according to the conditioning of the mind, it only scrutinizes and screens the information coming through words, and only when it fits to that conditioning, it will pass on the information. So in the hearing, you will be able to clearly identify that when someone speaks not from experience but from some kind of bookish knowledge, when such person speaks, you don't feel any kind of that truth in that outpourings. You can verify yourself. That is why even though people attend and hear so many discourses and all that, as listening doesn't happen, they continue to hear for any number of times with no change either in their attitudes or behavioral patterns. So 100 persons will be hearing a lecture. So 100 persons will be drawing their own conclusions will be interpreting in their own way. So, because the mind is such, the mind which is conditioned can only hear as per its the nature of conditioning and discards everything else. So, that's why a Buddha, Gautam Buddha, he used to give sermons in the mornings and evenings to the disciples. So, in the evenings, after the delivery of the sermon is over, he used to tell the disciples to go and attend to their daily work before going to sleep. So, his disciples used to understand that work means meditation. That is what the master told them. So, before you go to sleep, spend some time in meditation and then go to sleep. So, that is the work. So, Buddha used to remind the disciples or the gathering after the evening sermon is over. So, one day one thief and one prostitute also attended that gathering of disciples. So, they understood in their own way. Their mind interpreted the final words of the Buddha in their own way. So, thief thought, master said, go to the work before you sleep. So, I have to do my work, that is the work of a thief. Like that, the prostitute also thought in her own way, what her work is. So, this is the state of conditioning and the interpretations which the mind draws for each and every person. They may be hearing only one word or one sentence from the master, but according to their conditioning, they draw their own interpretations. So, in listening, only you should depend on heart. Whatever you want to listen, listen with heart. Especially when you want to listen to the master, you must listen with the heart. So, you must have love towards the master. then only you will be able to listen to his outpourings of the truth. So, the hearing may be necessary in schools, colleges and universities. It is hearing is needed there, but you can observe that no philosopher, no person with a logical mind and who has drawn his own conclusions about anything in the world has not committed any suicide or committed to death. They have not died for anything which they found it is true, because the reason is because they can change when that time of the question of death comes. They can change their philosophy, they have changed their philosophies, they have changed their logics to save their life. But those enlightened masters who have known the truth by themselves, within themselves, they know it is an absolute truth, and what they have known themselves, they have uttered, and even in the face of death, they never did or behaved or uttered otherwise except truth. So, there are so many examples to cite. Lord Jesus Christ, Mahavira, Socrates, Sufi master Masnur, so many saints, enlightened masters who have realized the truth by themselves and within themselves. So, when you are in contact or when you are in the vicinity or in the presence of a master, by your fortune, you should cultivate with awareness love towards him, because he knows the truth, he has known the truth, the absolute truth. So, whatever comes out of his mouth, we should listen attentively, carefully, with full awareness, with heart filled with love and gratitude towards that merciful God. Then when you start listening to such a master, then you can start listening to the holy music in the cosmos, to the holy sounds in the chirping of the birds every morning, and in the running waters, that sound, that music you can hear. So the door to the listening is a master. Master is the door to such a listening. So when it happens, when such listening arises and happens in you, then life becomes mysterious, and you will be able to see that all pervading divinity everywhere within you and everywhere, and whoever come across your life, they will be able to experience that fragrance emanating from you. Thank you.